This blind test was unbelievably fun to film.
That was absolutely smoked. Look at the smile on his face.
How can you not?
We had Jonathan, a mid-handicap golfer and subscriber, come down to the channel. And there is a big test going on here. And at the end of this video, I asked Jonathan to put these shafts in order of what way he thought the shafts were. There is also a clear winner for him. And if I'm honest, it goes against all recommendations on a particular clubhead speed. Anyway, let's get into it.
We have Jonathan here. Now we've got a blind shaft test with autoflex. So these shafts are all slightly different. I'm going to show you guys these here. We've got one that has not this on. I'm saying this so Jonathan doesn't know. We've got obviously this one that has this on, and then here. We're going to hit 3 with each, and this is really interesting. You currently use a regular shaft.
Yep.
And as you just said, I think it's really interesting that you first picked it up and you're like, oh, it doesn't feel too different. It obviously feels a bit wiggly.
But I've just had a quick warm up and the feeling through doesn't feel much different to her.
Interesting. So these are all meant for slightly different swing speeds. We'll reveal all at the end, but let's get hitting the first one. So here you go. I'm really interested to see which one you are best suited to, how you hit them. And I think this is a really interesting. We've done this before, we've done a blind shaft test, and what people thought they should use and what they do use doesn't tend to match up. Like, would you say it's fair to say most people, I mean, and obviously you use regular right now, you've only been playing golf 3 and a bit years. Some people want to go, no, I only want to use a stiff.
Yeah.
And they want to use that just so they can tell the mates. Whereas actually, it doesn't tend to be the case. Now, you're not actually in this camp, so my point's not really valid today, but it's really interesting to see what we end up with. Okay, let's get our first ball away.
Ooh.
Pretty good, it's all right. Safe as houses there.
Absolutely.
Right, talk me through how that felt. First ball away.
First ball. Yeah, nice. Seemed pretty solid.
Where did you feel the head was lagging? Did you feel the head was lagging behind, or you knew where it was?
I mean, as a high handicapper, the knowledge of where the head is sometimes escapes me. But no, I didn't feel like I was chasing it too much. I didn't feel completely lost, I don't think.
I think
it went straight.
Well, absolutely ideal, down the middle, first ball. So we're going to look at today which one has the best ball speed, which one has the best club head speed, and then the total distance, but also that dispersion.
Yeah.
That's what will be really interesting. Because I think, like, at your level, if we can hit more fairways, keep it straighter, then we're going to lower our scores.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay, ball 2. Like, just give us a waggle of this shaft for everybody just to sort of see. Look at this.
I mean, I'm not really doing too much, and it's a bit like a Mr. Whippy, isn't it?
It's crazy. Now, you said to me, the idea of the shaft is, and I think this is, well, we're all sort of hypothesizing on this, because as you can see on all the shafts here, they say Korean, let me turn it around so you can see, Korean hidden technology. Now, you had a great summary of it before, Jonathan. You said...
Well, I think it's supposed to be sort of light and whippy to gather the speed, and then it stiffens up through impact to get the launch, and then...
As far as I'm aware, that is completely correct.
I think that's the idea behind it. Obviously, how they do it, we don't know.
I mean, it's crazy. You can't even see anything on here. Like, I tested an X-Wave shaft the other day, and you can actually see like the lattice on it, like they're all crossing over, and that felt very similar, but not the same. Okay, let's go for ball 2. Let's see. We've actually chosen one of the hardest holes here as well, because there is water all the way down the left, and it is early in the morning.
Yeah, sharpens the mind.
Ah, beautiful hit.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say your usual club head speed and ball speed is?
I don't know. I don't go on sort of like a TrackMan too often to know my numbers. In terms of sort of what sort of carry I get, I'm about 180 to 200, depending on how bad it is.
Well, that there was a carry of 187.
Yep.
So pretty much where you would see. Now, this actually isn't Jonathan's head, but we're doing this, so we've got this sort of Konex system on here, so we can use the same head to make this test as fair as possible. That was interesting, because that one there was a 130 ball speed, which is really good. Yeah. Really good. Now, it'll be really interesting to see, like, does this go up as we change shaft? Does this go down? Okay, final ball away with this shaft. Now, if you had to summarise it, well, how would you describe it in your hands?
I mean,
Is it light?
I don't know. I'd have to sort of probably compare the other two.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah, certainly just doing that as a wobble, it's unusual to have it like that. That does feel strange.
I find it a bit disconcerting, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Right, okay, let's get your final ball away with this shaft. Not bad, it's fine over there.
Yeah.
Safe as houses. 87 swing speed and 124 ball speed, perfect. So that's our first shaft down. I'm not going to say anything until we reveal all at the end.
Yep.
And we're going to go into the next one now. So I'm going to show you guys what we do. Jonathan's not going to have any idea of what we changed. So this was the first one that we had. I showed you everybody these numbers before. Now we're going to see that there's going to be something else on here in terms of us changing this shaft. Here we go. We're going to put it on the same set and we actually put it on higher. So we made this 10.5 degrees. So what shaft, what drive head do you use right now?
Callaway AI, the original.
Paradigm, isn't it? Yeah.
10.5 degrees usually.
So we made that exactly the same loft. Right, give us a wiggle with that now. Does that feel any different in your hands? Everybody's obviously seen that I've changed it. Does it feel heavier? Does it feel lighter? It might not feel any different.
No, I would say it feels lighter overall.
Okay.
But then, could be a heavier shaft that makes the head feel lighter.
You're obviously relatively new to golf, so all these things are hard to sort of sometimes get a grasp of.
Yeah, there's probably not much in it, and then someone that's been playing the game for 20 years and finally tuned will notice those sort of differences. Whereas,
but equally, I think that's why this makes it even more interesting, because when I first started playing, like the access to stuff like this, you couldn't do it. You couldn't go and get fitted.
No.
I sound like I'm really old. I'm really not that old. But the point being is now, like, as new out the gates, you can go and get fitted for all these things. So I'm not saying you have to be almost tuned into already, but you've got almost the riches of technology.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then that's when you rely on the experience of your fitter,
100%.
who will know what those subtle differences.
Did you get fitted for yours?
No.
No. But would you as your next club?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, I got mine as a competition win.
Yeah.
So you just sort of like pick your rough specs that you're thinking. I think if you're going to be paying £500 plus for a driver, if you're paying £1,000 plus for your irons, it's a lot of money. Why wouldn't you get fit for it?
It's an interesting, and people say, oh, it's not worth getting it. It was so is. Okay, right. Time to give this is shaft number 2. Let's go with the next shot. I'm really interested at the end just to then tell you exactly what each of these are.
Yeah, what in theory they should have been doing.
So you felt this one initially felt just lighter in your hands.
Yeah.
That's what you feel, right? So that could be like you said, the head then feels lighter because the shaft's different.
Yeah, that's initial thoughts.
Okay, right.
So we'll see.
Let's give them a hit.
Oh,
off the bottom. Don't worry. Let's go. Shot do. He knows off the bottom. He's still pretty good ball speed and still pretty good club head speed.
And it's dry.
That is a very key point.
Oh.
Beautiful shot.
Wow.
So that surprised you?
Yeah, like the way that felt was quite high in the head.
Yeah.
And usually for me, that just pop-up fly ball goes 50 yards.
Whereas that felt like it went a little bit further than it should.
Yeah, that outperformed how the strike felt, I thought.
Very interesting. Now, obviously this isn't your head, but I mean, the heads in modern day equipment, I said this the other day on a video, like I don't think this is 2 years old, this head. There's no real difference to something that's now. And it's probably the same age as yours.
Yeah, mine's 2-3 cycles old, so.
So really interesting there. Your club head speed was down a little bit compared to the first shaft. It was 85, not sort of 86, 87. Your ball speed was a little bit down because it's out the face, but that was a 193 carry, your longest carry of the day.
Yeah, it didn't seem to have the drop off that I was expecting.
Very interesting. Your spin was 2,158.
Which is probably why it carried on rather than sort of being a high spinny one that I'd expect.
Equally, sometimes when you get it off the top of the face, it sometimes has no spin, it can drop out. Okay, so this is ball number 3 with this shaft. Interesting. Oh, that was smoked. So now having hit 3 with each of those, whoa, look at your ball speed on this one. A 131, a 204 carry.
Yeah.
So longer than what you'd usually hit, about 180, 190.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
1.48 smash, that's really good. And then a total 222.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
So if you had to go, okay, out of those first two, I'm guessing you're leaning towards this one straight away.
Yeah. There didn't seem to be too much necessarily different in the feel in terms of as I was swinging it through, but the numbers suggest a clear difference.
Very, very interesting. So if we look at this and we go, okay, well, we've hit 3 with this one. We've got a little bit of an outlier because of the one that we hit on the ground. But look at those two there in terms of your dispersion. They're tight.
Yeah.
They're really, really tight. Okay, so we're now going to go into the final shaft. And just to point out this is just a little bit of fun. It's only a very small sample size. Jonathan's not fitted for these shafts. We're just choosing 3 different Autoflex shafts that are slightly different. You guys will already know because you've seen. And we're seeing which one comes out on top. Right, so you're probably starting to guess what order we're going in.
Well, we'll see.
So now we're going into this shaft right here. So you can see the differences. We've got 2 of them now, not 1 of them. We're going to go higher again, neutral. Oh, I've got a question actually. Masters, who are we thinking? Rory? Bryson?
The problem is the elite level of our game now is so good that on any given day, they could all win depending on... And it's not even who's necessarily playing well, because Rory won the players and didn't seem to have his best stuff driving.
Yeah.
Which is probably a positive for him because that's his strength.
Yeah.
So if he was able to win without his strength...
Then what can he do when he's actually performing?
Yeah.
So you're saying Rory then?
I don't know. I think that last putt that he had on 18 was massive for him because that was another sort of 5-6 footer that if that had missed, JJ Spawn would then have come up with 2 to win. You'd have said the same old Rory. Yeah,
especially, do you watch Netflix? See when he missed those?
I've not seen Full Swing yet this season.
So it showed the 2 short putts he missed last year to miss out on the US Open.
Yeah.
Obviously, then Bryce went on to win it, and it's like short 1 on 17, short 1 on 18, and like Jonathan was saying there, it's interesting to then see him actually hold them, maybe tied to turning. Okay. Final 3 balls, then we'll go through the entirety of this data. Pretty good shot.
Yeah, I like that. Sort of.
Do you prefer to see that sort of lower flight? Oh, that was your best club head speed to date. A little bit off the bottom, so maybe spun a little bit too much. But look at that, 91 club head speed. Interesting. I
mean, it's funny. Like I tend to like the lower one because, as I was saying with that sort of first high one, if I get it high, it tends to drop out.
The sky.
So if I have a low penetrating one, it's not going to get the carry, but it's usually going to get the rollout.
Okay.
And is generally more in play than the sort of weak right slice.
Yeah. And you sort of get a bit more rollout.
Yeah.
You get a bit of both of those scenarios. I know a lot of people that I coach and people like to see that sort of flatter flight. They get more from it. Okay, let's go with ball number 2 with the shaft. Oh, that was absolutely smoked. Look at the smile on his face.
How can you not?
Look at the smile on his face. Oh, that was your best ball speed yet. 133.5. Okay, final ball of this test. Then we'll go through the entirety of data. That was a really nice shot, that. 218 total, that was a really good shot. I feel it's gone a little further than that. I can actually see it rolled out. It's the longest of the day, that one. Okay, this is the final shot. That was very, very impressive, that one. I like that one a lot. That was like a best of both worlds, that. Had a bit more sort of launch on it.
Yeah, but then had the lower, flatter trajectory piercing.
So I want you to take one more for me.
Yep.
And then before we go through the data, I'm going to put the shafts out in number of shaft 1, shaft 2, shaft 3. And I want you to put them in order of what you felt was the heaviest, what you felt was the lightest. Right, final ball though. Smoked as well. Very, very good. Right, okay. Very interesting. It's now time to put these in order. Let's go from there. Jonathan, this is shaft 1.
Yep.
This is shaft 2.
Yep.
This is shaft 3. Now, I want you to first say out of order in terms of what one you think gave you, I've sort of slightly alluded to which one was the fastest, but which one you preferred to start with?
I think the one I preferred of the 3 was the one I hit last.
Yep.
As I said, with the way my weaker shots tend to be off the driver, I'd rather a lower flight than a higher flight, just because, you know, I'm burnt from seeing the high, weak rights, and I felt that the third one launched it lower, and you know, I think you said I had the faster ball speed with that anyway. So
I should have kept my mouth quiet, really.
But you could see
you could see it, couldn't you?
You could see the results. Those drives seem to be the straightest. They seem to be, you know, closer grouping sort of down the straight. The second one surprised me because, like I said, I felt that I caught some of them high where I was expecting them to have dropped out the sky, but they carried on going. Yeah. That was like quite low spin, really. Yeah. So that surprised me, but I think I'd still prefer the third one over the second one. Yeah. And then the first one, I didn't seem to get on. Of the three, that was the one that seemed to be the weakest for me.
So this is our favourite. We'll go through and confirm whether that was the most consistent and the best. Yeah. Out of the heaviest to the lightest, I want you to say which one you felt was the heaviest and which one you felt was the lightest. So they all have slightly different weights. Yep. As you said, they're all the same, technically the same flex, but they all have slightly different weights. So the weighting system on Autoflex will mean one is better for a slower swing speed, one is better technically for a higher swing speed based on the data that they provide when you fit someone. So heaviest, lightest.
Yeah, so
big decision this.
It is a big decision. This might be my completely wrong rudimentary understanding of swing weights.
This is what you feel, by the way, so there's no right or wrong answer.
So I felt that the head was probably heaviest with the first one.
Okay, so you would say the shaft then is what you feel is...
So I would say that was probably the lighter shaft because, in theory, you'd say that was the lighter shaft because it's the heaviest shaft because it felt the heaviest, but I think it's the reverse.
Okay, so what are you going for?
So I'd say the lightest is the first one, and then it went heavier.
Tell you what, you know your stuff! So for reference, this is the SF505, the lightest, at 50 grams. This is the 55 gram shaft with the X, and then this is the 57 gram shaft with the XX. So there's not really much between them, but then quite a lot between the first and the second. Yeah. The first shaft is for people between 95 and 100 swing speed. Yeah. And these are all guidelines. Yeah. The second shaft is for someone between 100 and 110. And weirdly, the one you got on with the best is for someone that's between 110 and 120.
Which is not me.
No,
but then, like I said, that then seemed to make the head lighter.
Yeah.
So just because the overall weight might have been lighter, it just felt easier for me to swing the third one faster. Yeah,
I completely agree with everything you've said. Yeah. I think like what you've said there is really interesting because you had no idea, but just your feeling. So you know more, you feel more than you know.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay, so now let's go through some of the overall data. Okay, so everyone can now see, I'll show you this as well, Jonathan. So you can see the dispersion. The blue is the final. Yep. The yellow is the first and the red is the second. Now annoyingly, actually, apart from that ground ball, the red was very, very impressive. Yeah. So it's sort of slightly displaced, but we keep it in there because like you said, like we're relatively new to golf. We're gonna hit those bad shots. It's not about all good shots. So let's now have a look. So if we go on, let's go ball speed. The fastest ball speed was the final shaft, the XX, at 130.5. Quite a bit faster than the rest, to be honest. Yeah. But weirdly, the second one was the second fastest. Sorry, the first one was the second fastest. Yeah. Not what you felt.
But then that could have been the ground ball that was...
Well, actually, the ground ball actually still recorded a good ball speed.
All right, so, yeah.
So even though it went straight into the ground, that's why I left it in there because it was still okay. Yeah. And then club head speed, you swung the final one, the heaviest one, the fastest.
Go figure.
So it's such a strange thing, and that's why I think it makes it so interesting doing it with an Autoflex because not many people actually know much about them, and not many people actually use them. So it's cool to be able to test these with you. And overall distance, the average was the longest with the final one. And we could sort of see that visually, couldn't we? Yeah. It was travelling a lot further. Well, there we go. There's a blind test. What the tech sheet says you should use is completely wrong for you.
Well, but it just goes to show as well that with the technology of Autoflex is that it's not about how stiff it is or not, because when you're coming through, it's the delivery.
Yeah.
So then you're matching the shaft weight. If that's the only differentiating between the three, if all the technology is the same through all of them, stiffness, etc., then it just goes to what's comfortable for you rather than a stiffness.
I think to summarise that, it shows how important swing weight is, and then what you feel is right for you, and what swing weight you like to feel, and what swing weight is better for your swing. So just to show everybody here, the total on the final one there. Now the ground ball is skewing our total distance on the X shaft, but
yeah, it's a clear winner.
Yeah, so I mean, if we take this shot out here, just to sort of show everybody here what they'd be with that out, actually, the second one was our longest, but I've got both screenshots there. Yeah. But we've got to keep those ones in there. So, there we go. There's a blind shaft test.
Thanks.